Good evening, everyone. It's your boy Malik Washington. How you all doing this fine day or evening, wherever you all reside? Welcome back to the BMB. I'm your host, Malik Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's been a while since I've done a video. I think it's been nearly a month since I've actually posted another video. The timestamp from my previous video was about 3 weeks. So yeah, that's equaling nearly a month or better. One more week and it would have been a month. But as many of you all probably already know who are subscribed to this channel, that I have had some topsy-turvy situations to where I haven't really been doing YouTube like that. And again, YouTube is not my priority, given that I'm a small-time YouTuber. Nobody really knows me like that. I'm in the small little corner of irrelevancy in YouTube. That the only time you come across me is if I actually do topics on things that are pretty trendy, or when I say trendy, in other words, they're kind of upticking and the algorithm is pushing these types of conversations upward in the exposure department. So especially when I made that video on Scott Adams and his take on black people and staying away from them, that got me up the ladder, if you will, and I got more exposure. There was more conversation. I was dialoguing with a lot of different people, and to be honest with you, I enjoyed it. The people I agreed with, the people I disagreed with, and heard their perspectives. They heard mine in return, and I like to hear that. I know maybe a few people probably unsubscribe to this channel, and I totally understand that, especially if I'm going like 3 weeks without making a video. They're like, oh, this guy's inconsistent. But again, you wouldn't know this because obviously you don't know me, and I respect that. But again, I'm not a full-time YouTuber. I post every now and then, every once in a blue moon, if you will. But if I notice that there's a lucrative benefit constantly, making content, I see that what I put out there, people want to listen to. I see that my videos are being shared, liked, and, disliked, or people, basically I'm getting out there. And if there is more renown in my future, I may perhaps switch over to YouTube and make it my full-time thing. But right now, that is not currently my thing. I'm not looking to entertain y'all every single day. I'm just here to give my perspective. It's something for me to do. It's something for me to to talk about. There are things I often like to discuss and get off of my head. It's also kind of therapy for me to compartmentalize my thoughts about a lot of different things, especially when I can't throughout my day because I'm so busy focusing on matters that are privy to my success and things of that nature. So with that being said, given that everything is going right and everything is going positively smooth and successfully, I am able to at least have enough time to be able to post maybe a few videos, not necessarily tonight, but this will be one of many that I will be posting to this channel to, one, keep it updated, and two, make sure you all have some perspective to go off of and break your minds a little bit on certain things. Maybe you've already heard it, maybe you haven't. But nonetheless, if you're here to listen, I appreciate you. If this isn't good, if this isn't the voice for you to hear, then hey, wasn't meant for you to hear this message. But for those of you that do, I hope you stay. I hope you learn something. And I hope you find something practical out of it, and you can take it and say, you know what, may agree or disagree, but there are some things he says I can take it and say, hey, yeah, let me apply that and see how it works for me. All right. And sometimes it may not even be practical at all, but it could be just food for thought. And you'd be like, that's something to think about. So, all right, without further ado, let's dive right on in. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a topic I want to discuss that has recently transpired, particularly within the more black parts of social media. When I say the black parts, I'm referring to African Americans in particular. When it comes to a situation that just came about regarding a black woman in Houston, Texas, who posted a video on her social media, particularly with TikTok, and then it got to other social mediums, where she showed herself having a protruded, traumatized wound on the right side of her face as a result of being hit by a man. I believe it was a white man, but I'm unsure. A man nonetheless. But she was basically hit with a brick by a man because she apparently rejected him. And when he was asking for her phone number, so he was shooting his shot. She shot him down. He didn't like it. And as a result, she said she got hit with a blunt weapon because she rejected him. Right. And so among her in this first video that she put up, she said that there were men that were standing around that saw this entire situation go down, this entire debacle occur. They sat around and they watched it happen. They saw her get hit with a brick, and neither of the men did anything about it. She was screaming and she was yelling and she was crying, and she said, why are you all just standing there? Do something about it. And they said, what do you want us to do? She said, I don't know, be a fucking man and do something. She was extremely upset about it because she felt like the men should have took up arms and basically defended her, right? In spite of the things that she possibly said to the man to provoke him to act in the way that he did. In addition to the fact that she allegedly had rejected this man because he wanted her phone number. Later on, we get another video of her crying in the hospital, and she's basically saying that she's saddened and disheartened by the fact that men don't want to protect women, and that she felt defenseless, and she didn't understand why why these men didn't defend her, and wondering if she or other women like her even matter. As a result of this led to a wide array of women, particularly black women, complaining that that black men clearly have a problem with them, and that they don't seem to matter to black men whatsoever, because black men do not want to defend anyone, particularly them, when it matters, right? And so there's been this thing as of late where black women, when they look at issues like this, they tend to, of course, categorize every single man into that narrative by saying that all black men are evil, all black men ain't shit, all black men are not protectors, all black men are blah, blah, blah. There are all these different things, right? Us as black men, we've heard it. We've heard it all before. It's nothing new. Later on, about maybe a day or so later, after flack got put down on the men who were clearly watching, but they did nothing about it, one of the two black men who had actually saw the situation had recorded himself, and he explained his side of the story, saying that people were too quick to judge and assume that he was just standing idly by for the sake of standing idly by. But he said he actually had a reason for why he did not do it. Come to find out, he said that actually this woman is not as innocent as she makes herself to be, as she purports herself to be. We come to find out that apparently that this woman is a provocateur. And by provocateur, I mean she goes around and she provokes men, challenges them, and actually hits them. She has videos of it. She's had videos of it on her Instagram, if she hasn't deleted it by now, by the time I upload this video. To my understanding, I think from watching someone else's page, or, I guess you could say little reel or whatever regarding this situation, I believe she went and the lady that got injured or wounded, she went on her Instagram and she deleted all that stuff, because people actually started doing research after the fact when they found out that she was actually pretty abusive herself. By her being this provocateur, a lot of people found her to be very discrediting and a liar and full of shit. And as a result, perceptions began to change, not with the women, but with the men. A lot of men have started to see the nonsense and say, okay, here we go again with somebody clearly pretending to be a victim, when in reality, they are victimizers themselves. Right. And so, of course, this added fuel to the fire. And clearly people were just saying that, this is the exact reason why we don't protect these women, because they talk a lot of shit when we don't have the full story, and when everybody just eats it up and raises the money for them, for their medical expenses, for their legal bills and all like that. You come to find out later on, they did a whole bunch of shady shit prior, and then you start to regret it because you're like, well, wait a minute. Are we defending someone who's completely innocent here, or someone who has a criminogenic mentality, a mentality of going around and hurting people? Now, is this to say that what has been happening in her past, what she has been doing up to this point, doesn't mean that she deserved to get hit by a brick? Speaking from this specific situation in its context, no. And the reason being is because she didn't have a blunt weapon. She did not hit him. And she did not threaten his life. But the young lady did provoke him, apparently, because this was another addition that the young black man had added, was that she was taunting him to hit her. She was provoking him to hurt her. As detrimental and death-riddening as that can be, challenging and taunting someone who is clearly stronger than you or has a blunt weapon, that lack of survival instinct, you decide to put your life on the line and you say, you know what? I think I'm going to challenge him. And I think that's pretty low IQ and unintelligent of a person to be that crass to where you actually resort to petition and voluntarily ask a man to hit you if this actually happened, according to him. Basically, he goes on and he says that she's a troublemaker and that he has no regrets in not defending her. Because who wants to defend someone like that who literally goes around asking for trouble? I couldn't agree with him more on that. Who would defend someone who's deliberately getting themselves in situations, thriving on chaos, garnering attention, feeding off of the instant gratification of that attention, whilst at the same time asking a man to be the sacrificial lamb of their craft? When he dies, his life meant nothing because of him defending her. If he got hit with a brick, no one would really give a shit about him at the end of the day. But you know who they would give a shit about and feel sorry for? Her. And we clearly see that because she even has 3 GoFundMes. One of which I even think she got $30,000. It might be even more than that now. I'm sure it's probably a lot more than that now, because some people actually feel sorry for this girl. And again, I wouldn't put my money into her. But if that's what you want to do, that is entirely your choice, your prerogative. But it's not something I would put my money into. You put your money where your mouth is, but it certainly won't be with me. I won't be doing it. And here's the thing. This lady also has some pretty interesting views about men as well. The things that she has said about men. She's clearly another one of these jaded and extreme feminists who clearly have some type of disdain for men. Now, again, this does not mean that she should be hit with a brick because she personally feels some type of way about guys. That's her prerogative. Nobody can stop her. It's her opinion. She lives in America. She should be able to express herself and what she does or doesn't like about somebody just like anyone else, irrespective of the fact that she got that she might have even provoked someone to anger. But I can also understand that as a result of you saying the things that you say, you provoking people to anger, provoking or challenging people to do something to you, I can understand the ending result thereof. And the reason that is because if I was just like this girl, but in a different context, and I say to the world on this video, I can knock every fucking man out on the face of this planet, you all would look at me like I'm batshit crazy. Eyebrows raised, maybe even squinted, and like, really? And you know, somebody out there, they probably love to fight, or they have experience in fighting. Hell, they may even have experience in killing. And somebody could say, so he really thinks he can knock everybody out on the face of the planet, right? And then somebody comes to my house and they say, I can knock your ass out on your 2 feet. And then they actually knock me out. They knock me out. How can I then get upset because that person actually knocked me out? According to me, I challenged the world and said that I can knock each and every one of you out. But I didn't knock each and every one of you out. You knocked me out. I can't get upset at that. I can commend you, and I can certainly admire you for taking up the challenge, because that's exactly what you did. You responded to my challenge and you proved me wrong. And I can only respect that. But the problem in the world that we live in today is that when people do make challenges and when people do make taunts, particularly with women, when it comes to men, is that when they do these things to men, they somehow, some way lose their common sense and their logic. You suddenly think that when you threaten or you provoke men, men are not supposed to do anything about it. And again, the law is not in every man's mind. To some men, they depend on their own mind to go off of every different situations, because the law can't save them in every instance. The law can't preserve their life in every instance. The law is not so straightforward and cookie cutter in every situation or instance. And sometimes, as a result of that, a man has to take it up in his own discernment, his own wisdom of what to do in that situation. Now, was this wisdom that he actually hit this woman with a brick? No, this was clearly emotion. This was aggression. This, and maybe even to some degree, a sense of passion, because he was so furious. And if it is true, according to that young man, that he taunted this man, I said that she taunted this man in spite of him not getting the number and her saying no to him, but then continuing to go forward and then continue to dig into his wound of hurt and sting and agitating and irritating him, I can understand the outcome and why it happened. Do I agree with that outcome? No. But I can understand the events that led prior to it at that point, because she has a mouth. She's deliberately challenging him to hurt her, which makes absolutely the smallest sense in the world. And at that point, when you hear all of that, it dares to make you think the woman clearly did this to seek attention. And maybe she genuinely felt, yeah, I was hurt, so that's the reason why I recorded. But ma'am, I first of all also wanted to say, to add to that, why didn't you call the police? Why did you immediately go to social media? Because if I was in your shoes and I got attacked like that, I think the first thing I would do is call the proper authorities. But that's just me. Everyone doesn't think like me. Everyone doesn't have the same IQ or understanding or comprehension that I do about certain things. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the crazy one for thinking that. But I certainly wouldn't be telling everyone on the internet quite yet that I got assaulted until I've done everything prior to that. And then I would go to the world. But right now, let me try to get this done on the low, because that's the first thing I need to do. I need to make sure that I'm okay before I start talking to everybody. But Black women have this thing where they have to get on the internet to show themselves. She's not the only one that does it. There's quite a lot of these women. They get on the internet and they show themselves like wounded and hurt prior to calling the police. Like literally, there have been Black women in the hood who have gotten shot. They went and started and incited fights themselves, gotten shot, damn near killed, and when they got shot and they survived, ran into their cars live, showing themselves bloodied up, blood draining and leaking out of them, trying to show to the world how tough they are, how tough of a bitch they are, how strong they are, because they're on live and they got all the attention they need, in spite of the fact they damn near about to die and fade to black. But they just gotta show the world how tough they are as women. I don't know anybody that if they got shot by a bullet that they gonna keep going live. I'm sorry. Much less even show that they're losing in a fight. But the Black women are different. A lot of these Black women that do this are different. And I don't understand that. But then that leads me to this other thing. This conversation about Black men don't protect Black women. First off, let me say this. You are undeserving of any type of protection when you go around saying you don't need men. And I'm not talking about the women that haven't said this. I'm talking about the women that are. So please do not include yourself in this category of women. I'm referring to the women who actually say things like this, and you know who you are when you listen to my video, because you're exactly who I'm talking to. So if you have said this, this is in direct confrontation with you. You all go around and you say you hate men, you can't stand them, you wish they were exterminated, you don't care if anything happens to them, fuck the patriarchy, you don't need a man, you don't need their protection, you can handle everything on your own because you are a grown ass, independent, autonomous woman. Intelligent woman at that. You're highly educated. You have all the knowledge in the world. You are the purveyors of truth. And then yet a situation like this happens, like this woman who is a feminist, who clearly is a provocateur and goes around and hits men. And then you suddenly say, when men are just standing idly by, you say, well, why aren't you men doing anything about it? Why don't you be a fucking man and do something? Ma'am, why would we? Why should we? And therein lies the problem. Women like them expect men to be sacrificial lambs for their crass. You expect us to just bow to your every whim, right? You want us to just, what? You want us to kiss your feet? You want us to, what, lick your ass crack? You want us to what? Worship the ground you walk on, all that jazz. I bet you that would feel good to your narcissism as a woman, because you clearly like to taunt men into these pressurized situations to where they are clearly at a disadvantage, right? If a man is going around, if we're living in the ancient times and a man is going around swinging his sword, doing this, why in the hell would a man run into a situation where there is the possibility that this person that's wielding the sword could potentially slice their neck off? Nobody's that damn dumb if they don't have an equalized distribution of force or power in the situation, they are not going to put themselves in that situation in the first place. It's the dumbest thing to do, to run into a situation where someone has a blunt weapon against you, man or woman indifference, and guarantee if a man got hit with a brick, he would not get this much attention. He certainly wouldn't even get money like she did, because she's a black woman. And for the most part, probably black women funded it. But nonetheless, nobody would give a man money if he had got hurt like this. And men get hurt like this for the most part, a lot of times. They get hit with all kinds of objects. Ain't nobody setting up a GoFundMe for them. But there's 3 GoFundMes for this young lady right here. And that's not even the focus of the matter, though. The focus of the matter is you want men who don't even exist in that situation to somehow hop in and protect you. First off, there is no written rule. There is no obligation. There is nothing mandatory about anybody coming to your rescue. If people decide to do it, it's because they want to do it. It's not because they have to. It's not because somebody told them. It's because somewhere in there, deep in their heart of hearts, they want to assist you because you're clearly in trouble. But as of late, because of social media and the things that women have been saying about men lately, men don't want to protect you anymore. They don't. Come here. I'm going to tell you something. They don't want to protect women like you. It's not that they don't want to protect women. They got women in nearby them that they need to protect. They don't want to protect you, the asshole, the bitch, the one that goes around saying all of this ugly shit about men. They don't want to protect you. So stop putting every single woman in that category. We're talking about you, ma'am. And all of you out there who talk that type of shit to men. You. Get it through your skulls. Not everybody. You. And this is the world we live in. And men ain't no different, because there are men among us who will defend people like you and say that those two men are wrong because they didn't defend you. But yet you were going around smacking up men. And ain't nobody said shit to her when she was doing it. It was okay for her to slap a bunch of white people on the streets, but it wasn't okay for this man to do something, to use a blunt weapon against her. And I agree, it wasn't right. But it wasn't right for her to do the things that she was doing. And this was prior to this situation. All I'm saying is, may not agree with the outcome, but I certainly can understand the events leading thereof to it. I can. And in this situation, quite frankly, that's exactly what happened. She got put in a contextual situation that was actually in similitude to what she had been doing this entire time. She just finally met somebody, her maker, that finally made her realize what she had been doing. And now she's the victim of her own demise to a degree. Nobody should get hit with a brick, of course, because they reject somebody. But you certainly at the same time don't go around hurting other people at the same time, even if it's as simple as a slap, and then putting them on the internet in the process. That's embarrassing. And quite frankly, utterly revolting. But I don't know. It's ridiculous. If that lady knew any better, you talk all the things that you talk, and then you want someone in turn to protect you. There's no protection for someone who then at the end of the day, that once they protect you, you're just like everybody else. You become a hypocrite, and then you'll go out here and backslide and still talk about men. You'll still hurt their feelings. You'll still be a provocateur. You'll still be an asshole, and you'll never change. And that is the very reason why many men will no longer be sacrifices to women just for the sake of being sacrificial lambs. Men have families. They have sisters, girl cousins, mothers, grandmothers that they could be protecting. They have no obligation to protect you. Men are human. Men are creatures too. They deserve to live, not die for you. And if that's something you can't quite understand because your narcissistic mind is consumed by selfishness and greed to do whatever the hell it is you want to do, like a fucking pig, then you can kick rocks. You really can. You can kick rocks and go back wherever the hell you were born from, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll leave it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Malik Washington. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day or good night wherever you reside. I thank you for listening if you got this far. Please comment, like, and share, as it will help me to get up in the algorithm if you actually enjoyed it. If you didn't, that's fine. You know, I am glad if you even got this far and you listened to what I had to say. And if it gave you perspective, I hope you can take something out of it and be practical in it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, see you until the next video. Peace.